Welcome to this episode of our program, Daily Debate. As usual, we will be discussing an important debate and topic. Today we'll be speaking about the prospects of the Egyptian-German relations, particularly after the great Chancellor, the German Chancellor, Angela Merkel, left. President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi has hailed Angela Merkel for her role in boosting Egyptian-German relations during her 16-year tenure as Chancellor. Merkel has served in position since 2005 and handed over power on Wednesday to new Chancellor Olaf Scholz. On his social media, President Sisi has said, "I had the honor of joint work, fruitful cooperation and regular constructive consultation for 7 years with German Chancellor Angela Merkel." He added that Egypt's government and people will not forget what Chancellor Merkel has done for the benefit of Egyptian-German relations and her role in strengthening the bonds of friendship between the two friendly countries and peoples. "As I express my sincere appreciation for her, I wish her good health and happiness in her new life." These were the exact words of President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, who on his social media. In the latest video conference, Merkel has expressed her appreciation for the growing and fruitful cooperation with Egypt during the past years and affirmed her country's pride in its extended ties and close relations with Egypt. She also stressed her keenness to continue strengthening those relations in supporting Egyptian development in the future in all fields. Tonight we'll be discussing the relations that has been seen or has witnessed a quantum leap during the past 7 years. We'll be also speaking about the prospects of relations between Egypt and Germany in this upcoming stage, and that will be with our guest, Ahmed Mahmoud, Assistant Lecturer, and thank you so much for being with us.
You're welcome. Thank you. It's my honor. It gives me great pleasure to be with you here.
The pleasure is all ours. Before we delve into our discussion, let me first have a quick look on the top story of the day. And President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi met with Director General of the International Atomic Energy Agency, the IAEA, Rafael Grossi. During the meeting, President Sisi praised efforts exerted by the international official in order to activate the IAEA's key role in using nuclear science and technology worldwide and boosting efforts of spreading international peace and security. The head of state pointed out that Egypt seeks to benefit from the peaceful use of atomic energy in the development process through establishing the Daba nuclear station, through benefiting from the IAEA experience in applying the highest international standards in the field of nuclear safety measures. For his part, Director General of the IAEA hailed Egypt's pivotal contribution at regional and international levels in the field of non-proliferation of nuclear weapons and peaceful uses of atomic energy. Grossi stressed the international agency's support for Daba nuclear station projects. Right, and back to our topic, and let me here welcome again our guest, Mahmoud, Assistant Lecturer. Thank you again for being with us. And let me take you reading to the Egyptian-German relations and the boom or the quantum leap the relations has seen in or during the past 7 years.
Okay, firstly, I'd like to tell you about the reasons of developing the relations between Germany and Egypt. Okay, firstly, Germans are proud of Egyptian pharaonic civilization, and they are fascinated and interested in the Egyptian history
and culture, indeed.
And the culture. They are aware of the political and strategic position of Egypt in the Arab region as a political leader or as the leading country in the Arab world. Okay, and the excellence.
I mean here the pivotal role Egypt is playing in the Middle East.
Yes, in the Middle East and Africa.
Of course.
As well. Firstly, I would like to express the reflection of this excellence of relationships between the two countries in exchanging visits between the political leaderships of two countries from 2015, and President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi repeated visits to Germany. And they are the Egyptian, the President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi and the Chancellor Merkel affirmed that they want to develop the relations, the commercial and economic relations between the two countries across many channels. Firstly, exports. Germany is the third supporter to Egypt goods. To exported goods to Egypt after the United States of America.
And you mean here Germany is the first partner of the EU to Egypt in trade exchange?
The trade exchange
with
and
about
commercial relations.
yes, with about 1.6 billion euros.
Yes.
Yes.
And Germany allocated 151.5 billions to support 15 projects in Egypt, including many sectors like the private sector, economic to support the economic relations, private sector, and energy, renewable energy and energy development, and to
and education.
And education, yes. There are 7 universities in Egypt, German universities in Egypt, and the Archaeological German Institute in Egypt. And the two,
the cultural
Germany,
one.
yes, cultural in the cultural aspects.
The Goethe.
Yes, Goethe Institute. It's not only a channel for the extensive language and education, but also it has many events to contribute in the
building calibers of
the building
people and educating them, because Egypt's main focus is to build the capacity of people.
Yes,
indeed,
and to build the personality of new generations in Egypt, and 7 schools, German schools in Egypt, to contribute in building the characters of Egyptian people. And Germany supported 2 German universities in Egypt, the German University in Cairo and the International German University.
2 universities with no names.
Yes, okay.
Yes.
And also Germany provided the academic exchange programs between Germany and Egypt, and they exchanged academic postgraduate students for master's and doctorate programs to study in Berlin University.
Indeed. Germany, in terms of education, has lots and lots of contribution to this sector of Egypt, but also we're speaking about different others. We have more than 27 companies working here in Egypt in different fields. We also have the 6 power stations built by German.
Yes.
So renewable energy is one of the main fields that Egypt and Germany are very much in cooperation with. If I may take here, you said at the very beginning we'll speak about the reasons contributing to this quantum leap in relations. If I may ask you about those reasons, and if the leadership between both countries continued contact and consultation were behind such a quantum leap that has been witnessed and those flourishing relations. How do you read the situation here?
Okay, firstly, I'd like to express the German proud of Egyptian civilization, and the German Chancellor Merkel wants to develop and preserve the relations between the two countries because of the variety of reasons. Firstly, Egypt's friendly relations or not friendly, good relations with Israel from the 70s. Okay, from the 70s up to now.
Okay.
Okay.
Right, but let me here just take over the phone with me Dr. Mustafa Ibrahim, Ibrahim Mustafa, advisor to the Minister of Investment. Dr. Ibrahim Mustafa?
Yes, sir. Yes. This is Ibrahim Mustafa.
Good evening to you, sir, and a pleasure having you once more in my, this time over the phone.
My pleasure.
Let me here take, we were speaking about the Egyptian-German relations. And we were speaking about Germany as one of the main partners to Egypt, particularly during the past 7 years in the EU. If I may take your reading to the Egyptian partnership with Germany and how it accelerated during the past 7 years, and what is the status of relations between Egypt and Germany at this very particular time?
Actually, Germany was heading, the EU before, the leadership will go to France. It was very important to have this kind of strong relationship with Germany. When Merkel was in position, I think, that era, Egypt has got very strong relations with Germany, and the economic relations between both countries have been very strong. If we looked at, what we have got from with the Siemens, with the energy sector, actually, this agreement has an impact on the Egyptian economy by solving the problem with energy that happened before 2014, and this deal was very important to provide Egypt with the shortage that was in that time. That deal actually was estimated from an investment point of view. It was estimated at 11 billion US dollars, I think. And currently now we see, the difference between that time and now by having this deal, in addition to the mutual visits between both countries that initiated by our President Sisi, and who was keen, to make this kind of relationship between both countries very strong, to leverage on several sides, like what I said, the economic as well as the political one, using Germany as a very strong country that leads the EU for the last 7 years, as we said.
But if we speak about Germany as a key partner for developmental projects in Egypt, and a partner particularly in the energy field.
From both sides, trade and investment side, where we have a strong relationship with Germany. I think Germany is considered maybe the third or the fourth country, ranked among the top European countries investing in Egypt, which is very important. And we have a good, very, very strong chamber of commerce in Egypt. That the German chamber of commerce is very strong. That has been playing a very good, role in enhancing the ties between both countries, having the mutual visits between both business communities in both countries. In addition to that, as well as from the other side, the trade side, we have a good relations with Germany. In Germany, we are importing several products from Germany, mainly the machinery side as well as other products. In addition, we export to Germany as well.
How do you view how Germany see Egypt as an economic partner, particularly in Africa?
As I said, just Egypt is considered, the hub for to penetrate to Africa. Not only for Germany, it's for other countries that wanna penetrate to the African countries. Because now Egypt is playing a very good role in the energy sector, as it's considered the hub for the region. By having the deal with Cyprus and Greece to make, Egypt as a hub for, energy, as well as using all the potential that Egypt has from a strategic location and the trade agreements with the African countries, in addition to the agreements with the European countries. This makes, Egypt is in a very good position to Germany and other European countries to contribute to the African continent. Having, their headquarters in Egypt to have, just to penetrate to the market, that is very important, as many multinationals in the world now are competing to invest and to make use of the African, privilege that has been appealed to the oil countries, because many countries in the world now have reached the top in their growth rate capacities. That's why they want to have other areas to benefit from,
right,
like the African countries.
Right. Dr. Ibrahim Mustafa, Advisor to the Minister of Investment, thank you so much for being with us and for your input here. And back to you, Ms. Aya, and we were speaking about the economic side up till this minute. We have also, but let me here speak about the last thing that you were speaking about as we took the phone, and you spoke about because Egypt enjoys good relations with Israel. Actually, yes. Egypt has a peace agreement with Israel, and it is committed to its to its obligations and commitment in this agreement, and is fulfilling this aspect very much indeed. But Egypt also has a great deal to do with the whole Middle East.
Yes.
Please continue.
Right. Okay. Egypt has a very important role in the Arab world, in the Arab region in general, and Africa also. Egypt culture is a domain, I think, the domain culture in the Arab world. If Germany has successful or many successes in Egypt, they will have many successes in the Arab region, in the Arab world. Okay.
You mean here location-wise, geographical-wise?
Yes.
Okay.
According to its strategic location and geographical location also between Africa, Asia, and Europe. And the two countries are affirmed to develop the commercial and economic relations to meet the needs of the European markets and the African market as well.
Right. Before we continue on with our discussion here, let me take this report. And Egypt will not forget Merkel's efforts to foster Egyptian-German relations, according to President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi. Let's watch.
President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi hailed former German Chancellor Angela Merkel as a leader who ruled with wisdom and power, saying Egypt will not forget her efforts to foster Egyptian-German relations and her role in strengthening the bonds of friendship between the two friendly countries and peoples. The President said that he was honored of the work, fruitful cooperation, and regular consultation he had with German Chancellor Angela Merkel over the last 7 years. In a tweet on Thursday, President al-Sisi hailed Merkel as a great personality with a unique leadership style that combines wisdom and power. He added that she accomplished a lot for her nation and people, Europe, and the world during her bright political career. The head of state expressed his sincere appreciation to the Chancellor and wished her the good health and delight in her new life. President al-Sisi held several meetings with Merkel throughout his ongoing tenure, the last of which was during the 26th UN Climate Change Conference of the Parties, COP26, that was held in Glasgow, UK, last month. Over the past decade, Egypt and Germany have significantly intensified their economic and developmental cooperation, with around 1,180 German companies currently operating in all economic sectors. Areas of cooperation between the two countries have comprised numerous fields, including the water sector, wastewater management and energy. Former German ambassador Cyril Nunn said in remarks earlier this year that Egypt and Germany shared a trade volume of roughly 5 billion euros last year, noting that this makes Germany the second biggest trading partner to Egypt among the countries of the European Union. He also hailed Egypt's role in the peace process in the Middle East, describing it as a major and important partner. He also highlighted in a statement that Egypt and Germany are part of the Munich Group that also includes France and Jordan, which is the only international platform that brings together Arab countries and European countries in order to benefit from the combined energies emanating from the qualitative approaches of each of these countries. Ambassador Nunn also said that the political relations between Egypt and Germany are strong and diverse. As Egypt is not only the most populous Arab country, it also enjoys great geopolitical importance due to its strategic location between Europe, Africa and Asia, and therefore Egypt is a major political partner for Germany with its excellent regional relations.
Right, welcome back. And indeed, Egypt enjoys the geopolitical importance in the Middle East, in Africa, and has its own strength and power and depth, with a very strong leadership that is keen to foster and strengthen its role continentally and regionally and internationally. And this is what we are speaking about tonight. Getting back to you, Ms. Aya, and we were speaking about exactly what the report ended with, the geopolitical strength Egypt enjoyed because of its geographic location, because of its geographic importance and pivotal role that is played in the continent and in the Middle East. If I may take the points of interests that really played a major role in strengthening the Egyptian-German relations, particularly politically this time.
Okay. Firstly, I'd like to inform you about the video conference call between the Egyptian President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi and the German Chancellor Merkel. They discussed many contemporary issues, and Chancellor Merkel hailed the very important role of Abdel Fattah el-Sisi and Egypt in the Middle East. Firstly, they talked about the Libyan file and the Egyptian role, and they are agreed about the importance of the departure of foreign troops from Libya, and before settling the elections in December.
You mean here the exit of foreign mercenaries deployed there, which is making a big hell of problem those days. Please continue.
Okay, and they discussed the Palestinian cause and the important role that that Egypt played in the Palestinian crisis, in the recent crisis, to firm up Gaza Strip, ceasefire in Gaza Strip, and reconstruction of the Strip. And they also discussed the important Egyptian role in Ethiopia, in the Renaissance, in the Renaissance Dam. Okay.
No, you mean here the importance Egypt is giving for Europe, for Germany, and for Europe at large in pressuring Ethiopia to make a balanced, legal binding agreement with Egypt.
To reach legal agreement.
Yes.
During the filling and operation process of the dam.
Indeed.
Okay. Okay.
many other aspects that they share, including the illegal migrancy, for an instant. And Germany has worked on with Egypt on this particular file very much. We're speaking here about Egypt has zero illegal migrancy now, since it has put strict and firm observation and monitoring to all its shores. How far do you think this matter is a matter of importance to Germany and to Europe at large?
Okay. One of the controversial decisions that Chancellor Merkel made in 2015 is letting the refugees to come to Germany from Syria and other countries. That earned her a very popularity all over the world. Popularity and positive symptoms to her.
Okay.
Positive sentiments from political leaders all over the world.
Yes. Also, Germany is very much interested in the role Egypt has been playing in fighting and combating terrorism and dealing with the extremist ideologies, and how Egypt is trying to eradicate this phenomenon by all means and from different angles. How far do you think that they have been collaborating in this sense?
Egypt played important role and the leading role in the African continent through many channels. One of them in the UN, the statements of El-Sisi, President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi in the UN Security Council. He fought terrorism in many ways by strengthening the Egyptian military and through strengthening the Egyptian economy to fight these contemporary issues such as terrorism.
A hand that fight and a hand that build.
Fight and build, yes. And by exporting exporting modern weapons from France and Russia.
But also he deployed ways in order to find a kind of communication and dialogue to spread the real essence of Islam and the moderate think or thoughts of Egypt through religious discourse and through all those methods. So we're not just speaking about security and military from the perspectives of security and security only, but also through dialogue and
mutual interest for Germany and Egypt. They have
From your point of view, how is that so important for Europe and foreign countries at large?
What do you mean?
I mean, how Egypt's fighting to terrorism and extremism is important, or how do the European and the foreign countries see the role Egypt is playing in fighting terrorism and extremism, and how is this an important file for them?
It's a very important file for Europe and the worldwide, not only Europe. And they saw the pivotal role of Egypt and of the President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi in fighting terrorism and the efforts he exerted to fight terrorism and to solve controversial problems and contemporary issues as well.
Yes. If I get back to the economic side, and in 2019, Germans made up the largest group of foreign tourists with 1.8 million visiting the country. That was definitely before the coronavirus and all the problems it created here. So how do you view the prospects of a return to the German tourism to Egypt, particularly after all the good measures that Egypt has taken in this prospect?
After COVID-19 pandemic, the size of tourists in Egypt decreased to 200,000 tourists. Accordingly, it affected the Egyptian economy badly. But the Egyptian Commercial and Economic Council for the Egyptian embassy in Germany played a pivotal role in increasing the economic relations and the commercial relations through many channels. One of these channels is tourism, due to increasing the size of tourists in Egypt, yes, and following up the development of commercial relations and terrorism and tourism, increasing tourism to Egypt, and assisting in resolving the problems and disputes between the two countries, and contributed to encourage the trade exchange and solve the problems and disputes between the two countries, and representing Egypt in the international exhibitions, and encouraging the Egyptian contribution in the German market, and also encourage Egyptian investments in Germany, in the German market, and the German investments in Egyptian markets.
Yes. Huh. Yes. Let me here take with me over the phone Dr. Mohammed Naguib Abu Zaid, professor at the AEC, and good evening to you, Dr. Abu Zaid.
Good evening. Good evening. I hope you can hear me well.
I can hear you well. Can you hear me well?
Yeah, almost well, but I'm pleased to be with you, yes.
So I'll try to raise my voice as much as possible. And Dr. Naguib, we have just seen the Iron Woman, or the second Iron Woman in the history of Europe, giving the helm to the new Chancellor, Olutz, and during the past 7 years, we have seen a kind of flourished relations between Germany. We have seen a quantum leap in relations between Egypt and Germany. How do you view the prospects, or what is the expectations to the prospects of relations between the two countries after Merkel?
As a matter of fact, I'm personally one of the admirers of the past or the just leaving Chancellor Angela Merkel. She's the second long-lasting Chancellor throughout the history of Germany and the modern history of Germany. And I have to say at the beginning, and this is something that I witnessed myself, she holds and she continues to hold a great respect for our president.
Yes,
and
indeed.
You can see that in all the times, the way she greets, the way she addresses and our president and our political leadership. So one wishes her well, and we really don't want to see someone of that caliber, not only as a woman, but as a leader of Europe, who passed with Europe through some difficult times, and kept Germany on the front of the economic power of the world, and certainly in Europe throughout this time. The new Chancellor, he himself, he is someone who's an experienced individual. And during this time, as you correctly said in your nice introduction, the German relationship with Egypt was at its peak. And I don't want to repeat what others have said, although it really needs always to be emphasized on every front, economic, political. Definitely, Germany has always looked at Egypt as the greatest and the most trusted partner in the region. And I can give so many examples, but if there is one recent striking example, it's the complete trust of Germany and Europe behind Germany in Egypt as the one trusted partner to combat one of their nightmare files or issues, which was illegal immigration. I'm just pinpointing to one issue that was representing quite and still represents quite concern, deep concern for Europe. The new chancellor is an experienced individual, as I just mentioned, and he held several positions. And so we are not here with a new person that we are experiencing. I'm talking here about the international community, but he's an experienced individual that I expect him to go on the footsteps of Angela Merkel for the coming years, because he has a good example to follow. I have to say also that the new chancellor is definitely going, and anyone in his place is going to continue this relationship, good relationship with Egypt, and try to build on it. And when I spoke about the relationship of Germany with Egypt, I have also to mention the educational one, the cooperation on a military scale. So I don't want to skip one important angle without commenting on it. But definitely, it's a cooperation that we long for, and we wish for that to continue and flourish.
Dr. Abu Zaid, if I may ask you here about the relations between both Egypt and Germany. We're speaking here about one of the biggest industrial countries in the whole world, Germany, and definitely the strongest European country on one side, a very powerful regional country like Egypt, with its pivotal role in Africa and the Middle East. And why should, or how far do you think relations should be maintained at a distinguished level through the upcoming period, particularly, or why should they see it as a win-win situation?
Very good question, and I like the last part, particularly in the question. It's a win-win relationship. This is a good example of a very balanced relationship, and I'm glad you posed that question between Egypt and Germany. A relation founded on mutual respect and on achieving mutual benefit for both nations.
Indeed.
I would like to highlight something that may sound or appear very simple, but it's not actually. Ask any layman in Egypt about a German product, about a German quality. There is a deep respect for the German products in Egypt. Now, I'm someone who traveled and stayed in Germany hundreds of times without any exaggeration here. And you see how the Germans think of Egyptians, and they think profoundly of how deeply rooted civilization it is. As I spoke a few seconds or minutes ago, I also want to highlight the tourism sector that Germans represent quite a substantial priority in the number of tourists who come in Egypt, in resorts and so on throughout Egypt. So it's a win-win relationship because both sides trust the other party or other partner and wants to build on this relationship. If I were to be specific about one way that I express it myself, Egypt has a great relationship with Europe as a whole, but perhaps the German gate is the most, let's say, spacious and the most influencing one to Europe. Vice versa, Germany has a lot of interest in, like all the superpowers in the world, and legitimate interest in Africa and important files and important issues, the Middle East and with Africa. And when they stretch hands for cooperation, they always rely on Egypt in that. The viewers should know something that I listened to in several situations. And speaking of that, I was a member in the founding project of the technical cooperation between Egypt and Germany, and I could see that through the German expats and experts work in Egypt. Always, the Germans value the Egyptian citizen, the Egyptian history, and see that kind of future that we want to build in. And I could again give examples. In the education sector, there is no doubt. They have their footprint and their contribution to that. And I think the coming years will have this cooperation to continue and this mutual respect, like I said, for a relationship that provides this very good example for international.
Yes, very much indeed. Very much indeed. Dr. Mohammed Naguib Abu Zaid, professor at the ACU, thank you so much for being with us tonight and for your input here. Back to you, Ms. Aya, and let me take here the Egyptian constant policy or foreign policy was always based on mutual respect and common interests. How do you view how the Egyptian diplomacy developed, and how do you view now the Egyptian relations with Germany from one side and the whole European Union at large at this very particular stage?
Firstly, I'd like to tell you that Egypt cooperates with many European countries like the United States of America, China, and the third European country contributes to in Egypt commercial relations and trade, exchanging trade with Egypt is Germany. Egypt has settled and balanced policy in the Middle East, Africa, and Europe as well. It has balance in the relations between many countries, and it preserves the friendly relations between many countries.
Yes. If I may here end my episode by asking you, how do you view the prospects of relations between Egypt and Germany in this upcoming stage from your point of view?
It has many prospects. Firstly, the political prospect by exchanging visits between ministries, Egyptian ministers and German ministers. The Minister of Foreign Affairs, the Foreign Minister Sameh Shukri, and the German Foreign Minister, the Industry and the Trade Minister.
Yes.
Visit to Germany.
You mean here the High Committee of both countries?
It leads to a contribution, in cooperation between the two countries in the railways and the transportation. And it increases channels of cooperation between the two countries in the private sector, water sector, railway and transportation.
Yes, they have common interests at this very particular time. Ms. Aya, I have to end it here because my time is out. And Ms. Aya, Mahmoud, assistant lecturer, we thank you so much for being with us tonight.
You're welcome. Thank you. It's my honor.
Dear viewers, thanks for watching. Our next debate would be on Sunday, so until next Sunday, it's good night.